Dr. Mabila Mathebula, can you hear us?
Yeah, loud and clear, Mr. Stan and Vision.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. We are so grateful to be talking to you, but most of all, we are thankful. We want to show and appreciate and show our gratitude that we always have you. Now, the question is, what are the things that you are grateful of? What are the things that you say thank you to, Dr. Mabila Mathebula?
Yeah, well, it's a very good question, Mr. Stan, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think I'm thankful to one thing, to when I wake up in the morning, I say to myself, I thank God for giving me two things, space and breath.
Space and breath.
Yeah, I say I'm thankful to two things, to God, for space and breath.
For space and breath.
Yes.
Right? Meaning that
Yeah.
if Dr. Mabila Mathebula has a space and breath, right? That's all he needs. The rest he can take care of.
Well, they're part of his space and breath, the rest.
But why didn't you say it loud so that Dr. Mathebula can hear you?
No, I did. They're part of his space and breath, so he's okay with it because then that means he has his space where to accomplish something and his breath is in it.
Now, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, today we are talking about emotional intelligence in relationship. Now, the question is, what is emotional intelligence?
Yeah, what is emotional intelligence? Yeah, we previously we spoke about spiritual intelligence and we spoke about IQ, intelligence quotient. And we had promised our listeners that one day we are going to touch on emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And your question was, what is emotional intelligence? And then I answered and I said, emotional intelligence is the ability to make your emotions to work for you by using them in ways that produce the results you want. And unlike IQ, which is fixed, and only measure cognitive thinking, IQ is variable. In other words, you can improve your IQ, you can improve your emotional intelligence. IQ, if they say this child is bright, he gets 100%, or maybe this one gets 40%, and it's very difficult to improve that. But emotional intelligence is something that you can improve.
Now, what are the dimensions that emotional intelligence focuses on, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, emotional intelligence, firstly, it focuses on emotions, or maybe on the emotional dimension, on the personal dimension, on the social dimension, as well as survival dimension.
Now, what is it that emotional intelligence give awareness to, Dr. Mathebula?
Well, it's a very good question, and I'm glad you brought it up. I think IQ gives us our awareness of our own and other people's, because you see, in a relationship, feelings are very important. And it gives us empathy, compassion, motivation, and the ability to respond in an appropriate manner to either pain or pleasure.
Now, you mentioned empathy. Are we able to define empathy, Dr. Mabila Mathebula?
Yeah, empathy simply means that you try to be in another person's shoes. And particularly as couples, we fail to be empathetic, to situations. And let me give you an example. If, for example, you come home and your wife has actually I'm just going to and say, Daddy must not actually know about the situation. And then now you discover that that's what she said, You need to start empathizing with her and say, but if I were in a shoes, would I have actually thought the way, she would have actually thought, Now, if you are in another person's shoes, you are in a position to understand this person. For example, if we look at crime, for example, in South Africa, your house may be broken into, and then they may steal whatever they may have stolen. But if you try to empathize with those people, that these people live in abject poverty. They don't have any career, they don't have anything, they don't have a home, or they don't have a place to shelter under, and their alternative is crime. And then now you start empathizing with them, right as in the Bible, and then you can do something about crime. In the situation. Now you empathize with people. The same applies to in a relationship. If you empathize with your partner, you actually understand exactly what she's going through. And in the previous discussion I spoke to you about. If you have got a woman who has been socialized by only one partner, maybe the mother without a father figure. That person does not know how to relate to a man. And as a man, you need to actually understand that this person cannot actually relate to a man. She needs to be re-socialized in order to relate to a man. Now you empathize, with that person. I think I've actually answered the definition of empathy.
You very, very, very well, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. Then, how do we create empathy in our relationship?
Yeah, firstly, it's sincerity. You need to be sincere. I think you need to. One should speak true feelings. I think you need to face issues head on, and do not try to avoid an acute angle or a conflict situation. You need to face issues head on. You need to call a spade, not a silver spoon.
Okay.
You don't have to hedge on the issue. You need to face issues directly that affect you in the relationship.
You said you don't have to hedge on the issue.
Yeah, I'm saying like manga like beating about the bush, or other people would say that, but I'm using a particular phrase.
Oh, yes. No. Do you have to be genuine or show genuine concern, Dr. Mabila Mathebula?
Yeah, you need to be genuine. You need to show genuine concern for your partner, and then, in other words, you need to show your commitment, that you are concerned about her, or there must be that genuine concern. There must be genuinity. You must actually show that you're genuine about the whole thing.
Now, in a relationship, how important it is to invite discussion, Dr. Mabila Mathebula? Is it part of creating empathy in the relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to invite discussions. You need to discuss about how are we doing in terms of our relationship. Because you need to measure your relationship. As I said, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. You need to say, but how are we doing in a relationship? Are we still on course? Are we still, focusing on the vision? Are we still living according to the values that we set out, the goals that we set out? You need to invite discussions, and also you need to touch on personal issues. How do you feel about this issue? How do you feel about this thing? How's your situation at work? How are you going through the stress level at work and the like? Now you need to discuss those issues as well.
Okay. And then lastly, how do we create empathy in a relationship, Dr. Mabila Mathebula?
Yeah, I think you need to offer help and assistance, for your partner, and then offer assistance. Normally people think that, I love you, and what can I do? What can you do for me? Instead of saying, I love you, what can I do for you? You need to assist. You need to assist your partner to show concern. You must not be, the person who's there in a relationship to acquire, to be acquisitive. You must also give. You must give love. You must give support.
Now, Dr. Mabila Mathebula, what are issues in a relationship that EQ will enable you to manage? Okay, we actually lost Dr. Mabila Mathebula at the critical moment. Let's see, Vision. Can we then get Dr. Mabila Mathebula back?
Let's see.
Let's see if we can get Dr. Mabila Mathebula back. We were talking about emotional intelligence with Dr. Mabila Mathebula, and there are very interesting issues that he actually raised, Mr. Kenyan. He says, now, empathy is one of the most difficult aspects in a relationship, and it comes through actually a lot of practice. And he was talking about, that we can be able to create empathy in a relationship by being sincere. He also talked about, showing genuine concern as well, and you must be able to invite discussion. Right? And the other thing that he also talked about was that you need to create a supportive climate in a relationship, and you must also offer help in a relationship. Not only help, help and assistance is almost the same thing. The other thing that he was also talking about, which was...
I'm back now. I'm back, Stan. I don't know what happened.
Dr. Mabila Mathebula, we were talking about, issues in a relationship in which emotional intelligence will actually make you able to manage.
Yeah, I spoke about anger, and then we were cut, and I think I was giving an example. I don't know whether you heard that as well.
No, that is where we got cut.
Oh yeah, I spoke about a certain manager who owed, maybe a certain person who owed a company, an explosive company, and there were rules there that people were not allowed to smoke. And then one day he showed up unannounced,
Yeah.
and then someone was smoking, and then instead of being angry with that person, what he did, he took one cigarette and he gave him, and he said, "I would prefer it if you could do it on the outside." Yeah.
That was emotional intelligence, Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
That's emotional intelligence. Yeah, that's how you should actually, deal with anger in a relationship. To be angry, it's natural, but how do you contain your anger?
What are some of sensitive issues that we deal with in emotional intelligence in a relationship?
Well, one of the sensitive issues is about how to deal with former relationships. How do you deal with children, maybe, that were born out of the wedlock before you got married and the like. And then those are sensitive issues. And how you deal with those issues would actually need some emotional intelligence.
Now, how about religious issues, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, also religious issues. You marry a woman who's actually born again, and you are not actually born again, and you belong to maybe some of the, African independent churches, or maybe you believe in African religion, and then you have got the social functions where you have to slaughter something, and you brew beer, African beer, and your wife says to you that no, I'm not going to compromise my Christian principle. Other people who are emotionally intelligent, they don't actually care. They know that God is listening to them. She'll go and conduct all the rituals, not knowing very well that she doesn't actually believe in those things, but she creates harmony between family. But a person who's not spiritually intelligent will say to you that, I cannot compromise my religion. I cannot compromise my Christ, and then from there you end up having what? A conflict.
And then there's also, again, an issue of unemployment and scarcity, Dr. Mabila.
Yeah, unemployment and scarcity. How do you deal with those issues as well? If one is actually unemployed, how are you going to deal with that? Are you going to say to you are not looking for a job and then you are lazy, you are lazing around? Other men are employed and you are not employed. We're now market. Market, you're telling me, now you need emotional intelligence as well.
And then which brings us to the issue of commuter marriage as well.
Commuter marriage is a marriage where one partner stays in one location and the other partner stays in another location. You work in Bloemfontein and your wife is in Pretoria. And then more often than not, such a marriage, when you meet for a short time, and then because there's frustration, because you are parting ways, anything can create a conflict. You can start fighting, over anything, even a needle. You can actually fight, because the needle has actually fell, because you are missing each other, and then now you need what? Emotional intelligence to deal with the situation.
And then there's also an issue of reconstituted family, Dr. Mathebula.
Reconstituted families is a family whereby Stan has got children, and then you meet Mary. Mary has got her own children, and you decide to form a family. It's a reconstituted family. How do you deal with the children? How do you deal with their concerns? How do you deal with the dynamics? If they have to go and visit their parents, their biological fathers or their biological mothers, something like that. It's a reconstituted family, which you need emotional intelligence. If you're not emotionally intelligent, you cannot be in a reconstituted family.
And then we have got emotional intelligence and emotional and intellectual recognition, Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Yeah, emotional and intellectual recognition, it means that when you have got your partner, you need to acknowledge intelligence, that, this is what we are doing well. This is an idea. Maybe let's let's extend the house, or let's do this, let's do this. You need to acknowledge, the intelligence in the whole thing, and she needs to acknowledge your intelligence as well. And also, you need to give her, emotional recognition and say, hey, but you are doing well there. I'm really proud of you. Hey, I trust in you. I believe in you, and the like. Emotional recognition. These things we demand them from companies, that organizations must actually give us recognition, but we don't give our partners emotional and intellectual recognition. Now, charity should start at home.
Sadly, is something that we are not able to recognize, Dr. Mabila Mathebula. Now, what are the some of the principles for recognitions, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, you must place emphasis on success rather than failure. You need to give praise where praise is truly deserved. You are doing well, you are cooking well, you are a good wife, you are a good husband, and the like. That's what you have to do. And you need to deliver recognition in an open and honest manner that is appropriate to your partner. Don't actually, recognize your partner when you are angry. As I said to Vision, I can't watch it. You need to. The timing is very important. You must say, at times you might say right words, but in a wrong tune. Timing is very important when you deal with actually emotional intelligence issues. Like another person who was in emotional intelligence is His Holiness Jesus the Christ. You still remember when they brought that woman who was actually caught in an act of prostitution?
Yes.
And then they said, according to the Mosaic law, this person is supposed to be stoned to death. And then because His Holiness Jesus the Christ was emotional intelligence, and He says, let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. And they never did that. You see, now he was emotionally intelligent. Whatever, if you look at his ministry, he was emotionally intelligent.
And I like the fact that, having emotional intelligence also has to do by saying the right thing at the right time, not at the wrong time, Dr. Mabila Mathebula.
Yeah, absolutely. You are being emotionally intelligent by actually, timing is very important in whatever you address issues. At times you might actually have a challenge, and then you feel that, but I don't actually have to address this challenge now. Let me actually wait for a while, and then from there I can actually cool down and I can address the challenge. That is being emotionally intelligent.
Dr. Mabila Mathebula, thank you so very much. Now, today we don't have a vocabulary cabinet, but we have a quotable code. What is our quotable code today, Dr. Mathebula?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's from Confucius, and it says, by 3 methods we may learn wisdom. Firstly, by reflection, which is the noblest. Secondly, by imitation, which is the easiest. Third, by experience, which is the bitterest.
Now, by 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. Firstly, by reflection, which is the noblest. Second, by imitation, which is the easiest. And then third, by experience, which is the bitterest.
And let me give you an example. Let me give you an example about that. The late Oliver Tambo said to the ANC, he said to them that if you think that the struggle is something difficult, wait until you are in power and govern. Because governance is something that now you are doing things through experience. Now is the bitterest.
Dr. Mabila Mathebula, when we say thank you here, we mean it. A thank you from us is not a cliche, but it is a thank you that comes from deep, I don't want to say the bottom, but I want to say the bosoms of our hearts. So we are very, very grateful, for the wisdom that